Hey guys, here's another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. Those of you that have been following the channel for a while probably recognize this beautiful pearl white 66 Beetle. This is the one with a 2-liter in it, bit of a sleeper. So last time the car was in, the owner had us lower the front suspension. He supplied a front beam and narrowed leaf springs and so on. And we put it on the car, so it's actually this one here. We put it on the car, and the car had essentially no front suspension at all. And I think the issue was that he bought sort of the lowest price front beam he could find. This was a 2-inch narrow beam, and I'm not going to say where he got it from, but you know, when I was assembling it, I noticed that the trailing arms were really hard to get in. Normally they should just kind of slide in. I had to basically pound the trailing arms in with a dead blow hammer. And then once I got them in, they were pretty tight. They weren't really rotating very freely. And once I got the car back together and on the ground, you know, pushing down on the front of the car as hard as I could, I wasn't really getting much suspension movement at all. Pretty much just the tires absorbing whatever I was pushing down. And so the owner took the car and drove it for a while, and he wasn't really happy with it. And also the steering was very stiff. We used impy ball joints that are, I think they're high clearance ball joints made for either lowered or raised cars, and they were just super stiff. The steering, when he would turn the car, it wouldn't really return to center very easily, and the steering effort was really high. So he brought the car back in, and what we did was working with again our good friend and part supplier Jason at Air Cooled Vintage Works. He set us up with a really high quality 2-inch narrow beam. So that's the upper one that you see right here, which is a much higher quality beam. It's going to be very smooth operating. So we're actually replacing the ball joints with some non-impy ones. I don't remember the brand, but they're a shop that we use who does some of our things like pressing ball joints in and out, since we don't have a press here. Brian Roth at Roth Vintage, he's going to press those in for us. So we're taking out the impy ones and we're putting in some others. Again, if somebody really wants to know, I can let them know what the brand of the new ones is. But supposedly they operate much more freely. The impy ones, I guess, can be pretty stiff, and these were super stiff. I mean, you could barely move the thing. So I think between the old front beam having very tight inner bushings and then those ball joints being super stiff, both in terms of steering and also in terms of suspension movement, you know, the thing basically rode like it had 2x4s for shocks, and it was super hard to turn. So he went ahead and he brought the car back in. We got the higher quality beam, and as you can see, the old one is out. And so we're waiting to get the arms reassembled with the new ball joints, and then this car will go back together. And I think the owner is going to be really happy now that he should have suspension in the front and also steering that you don't have to be a bodybuilder to make the car turn, and the car should self-center after you know, when you're done with a turn. So yeah, you know, we want to make him happy, so we cut him a really good deal on the front beam that we sourced. Again, the one from Jason at Air Cooled Vintage Works, you know, more or less gave him that one for pretty close to cost, and you know, to kind of get him sorted out. We feel kind of bad that he had such an unpleasant experience with the suspension that he you know, sort of provided. So we're doing our best to help him out here and you know, keep his cost to a minimum, switching out a higher quality front suspension on his car. So pulled that out this morning, and then worked a little bit on the 69 EV. So as you can see, transmission went in it finally. So Americoat did a really nice job of powder coating the cradle mount here. So I went ahead and picked that up from those guys this morning and got it mounted here. Went ahead and put in the throw-up bearing, got the clutch and cable and Bowden tube, everything all hooked up here, and went ahead and installed the pedal assembly. Again, this pedal assembly was done by our friend Scott at Pedal Works. Again, look him up if you need a set of pedals. Really nice work. And so that's about it for the 69 today. And so, yeah, this car, I think we'll probably go ahead and bleed the brakes before we put the body on it because, you know, why wouldn't we? Everything is kind of here, easily accessible. And the reservoir here is sitting right on the car, unlike, you know, say an earlier car or a car with non-aftermarket where the reservoir is actually sitting up here somewhere on the body. You can't really bleed the brakes with the body off. But on this one, yeah, we might as well. It's everything is very self-contained on the chassis here. So we'll go ahead and bleed the brakes. And then the next thing is probably to put the seal on, the pan to body seal. And then at that point, we're pretty much just waiting on this car to have its body done, which we should be wrapping up probably this week as far as having it ready to, or maybe early next week as far as having it ready to go ahead and mount the pan and body together. So other than that, Rafa, today we were trying to catch up some loose ends on some other cars, and we don't really have anything here to show for it, but we had a customer who dropped off some convertible Beetle windows who wanted them, the frames re-chromed. So we went ahead and disassembled those today. They were a bit of a disaster. There was a lot of broken pieces on those frames, so we sent those over to our friends at Washburn Metal for them to expertly weld up those frames, and then they're going to go off to chrome plating and look as good as new. So yeah, Rafa spent a while working on those, disassembling them, and, you know, trying to get them straightened out and so on. And then other than that, we also have another white 59 Lowlight Ghia. You can look it up. There's a video on it. It's a white one with white one with wide white walls in it. That one came in for a new convertible top. So our neighbor shop Octavio's is nearly done with the top. The customer wanted the bumpers on that car re-chromed. So we went through the bumpers today. They were a bit of a mess. Straightened some things out, saw which parts we needed to replace, and then those parts are going to go off to the chrome shop in another day or so. So yeah, not much done on the 64 Beetle today because Rafa was kind of concentrating on those other projects that we'd kind of been neglecting. The only other thing is I started putting together the axles for the 69. I think I may actually hate greasing CV joints more than wheel bearings. If somebody remembered me mentioning how much I hate greasing wheel bearings, I definitely hate greasing CV joints even more. But nonetheless, got one axle together, put the other one together tomorrow, and then probably go ahead and put those on the car. So that's it. Pretty productive day. Not a lot to show for it. Actually, I should mention the gray Beetle, the 59. That one is at Washburn's too. So we spent part of this morning kind of dealing with that, getting that car over to Washburn's. That was the one that I found out late last week that the clutch cable tube had essentially rotted through on it. So that car is over at Washburn's now. The clutch cable tube was rotten through. The fuel line was looking pretty bad. The car is going to be a hot rod, so it's not going to have heaters on it, so we're not going to bother replacing the heater control cables. It's actually getting a slightly larger fuel line because it's going to have a big motor in it. And like I said, a new throttle cable tube and a new clutch cable tube. And then hopefully we'll have that car back from Washburn's in a day or two and then kind of get back on it. So yeah, pretty busy day. Again, not a lot to show for it here in the shop, but definitely working hard and getting a lot done today. So that's it. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.